This is Eerie Vonn from Sam Hain and Danzig, and you're listening to Cobras and Fire. Rock's not dead.
Welcome to Cobras and Fire. My name is Baco, and I'm happy to present to you part 2 of my interview with former Sam Hain and Danzig bass player Eerie Vonn. Now, when we left off at part 1, John Christ had joined Sam Hain, and producer Rick Rubin had just entered the picture. I actually think this is the time of Rick Rubin's career where he earned his reputation. He was producing the Beastie Boys. He somehow got into Slayer's world and produced probably, well, at least what is arguably considered the greatest thrash metal record of all time in Rain and Blood, changing Slayer's sound totally at the time. But even more so, if you listen to some of the Sam Hain stuff, the idea that this kid from New York City that was known for rap heard something in those Sam Hain records that very few people even heard, much less liked, and turned it into what we now know as Danzig, to me is amazing. If you listen to the work that Rick Rubin did with Johnny Cash before his death on those American recording records, this and the Slayer record largely influenced that, and as well as the Red Hot Chili Peppers record Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which went on to become a monster. I think the first Danzig and I think the Slayer Rain and Blood is where Rick Rubin cemented his legacy. But let's get back to the interview with Eerie. He's just talking about Rick Rubin entering the picture. Enjoy.
And decided we needed a better drummer, because he wasn't cutting it or whatever. So then we had to, look for drummers, and then we just made like one phone call and called Chuck Biscuits and said, "You want to be in the band?" He goes, "Sure."
He was the guy right out of the gate?
Well, there was two. Reuben says to Glenn, if you could have any drummer you wanted, who your drummers? And he said, well, he wanted Filthy Phil from Motorhead, and that was a bad idea from the beginning because he's already, older. He's got all this experience. He wouldn't just go along. I'm sure he would have been, button heads with Glenn. So he said, well, what about, anybody else? He goes, yeah, Chuck Biscuits.
That was
so,
DOA. Was that his band or?
Oh, Chuck was probably just out of the Circle Jerks by then.
There we go. Okay, yeah.
Circle Jerks or Black Flag. I think it was Black Flag, then the Circle Jerks. And he was doing his own stuff in Vancouver. He was putting out like 45s and stuff.
Okay.
And still playing. So, like I said, I don't even know how they got his number because you can't just look somebody's number up. There was no internet. Even then, you can't find him. So anyway, they called Chuck and it says, hey, this is Rick Rubin. I'm sitting here with Glenn Danzig, and I don't even know if Chuck knew who Rubin was because I'm sure he didn't because all Rubin had done at that point was all rap stuff,
Yeah, right.
And so he didn't know. I'm sure. And he said, I'm sitting here with Glenn Danzig, and he's starting a new band. He goes, what would it take you to come out and, either audition or join the band? And Chuck just said, plane ticket, and that was it. He flew in. He moved in with John. They got an apartment together, and we started rehearsing, like right away. And he showed up with a kick drum pedal and a pack of cigarettes, and that was it. And a sweater, and a big sweater. And that was it. We started rehearsing right away, mostly in New York, so Reuben could go to rehearsals and, check our progress and make suggestions and stuff. But that was always a pain in the ass because you couldn't always get it, get space. We rehearsed at Aerosmith's studio for a while, a couple other places. But we needed a place in Jersey, because that's where we all were, and we could get to rehearsal 3 times a week and stuff. But from the moment the 3 of us got in the room together and started playing, it was just really easy, It was just, Chuck and John are such great players that they could just pick it up, especially Chuck. He could play anything. And, so it was real easy. And then we just started working on the songs, Glenn would say, okay, I got a song, let's see what happens. Here's a riff. Or he would take John aside and say, all right, I'm hearing things. Like he would hum stuff.
You're talking about Reuben or Danzig at this point?
No, Glenn would just, him and John would just sit in the corner, and Glenn would go, no, 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 you know, like he's like, this is what I hear in my head. So John would say, you mean like this? He goes, no, not quite. How about like, he goes, okay, how about this? He's like, yeah, oh, no, what? All right, and John would give him like 5 different variations of what he was thinking, and he go, yeah, that one. So then we say, okay, this is the riff. It's going to start the song, so we'll play the riff, 4 times, and then we'll go, maybe then the whole band will come in, and then we'll play over the riff, and then we'll go into the verse. So what key is it in? Okay, it's an A, so we're going to stay on A for like 4 lines. And then we'll go back to the riff, and then, that's just how you write a song, So that's the way it worked pretty much the whole time,
It did sound like that first Danzig record, and I say this retrospectively because the first Danzig album is where I come into the picture as a fan. But listening to the Misfits and Sam Hain now, it seemed like the Danzig was like the natural progression out of Sam Hain. Like it was like Sam Hain with better musicianship, better songwriting, a little tighter production.
Well, yeah, it was the next step. If Sam Hain hadn't happened, then Danzig wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
It was like Glenn had to work out what his vision was in his head and needed musicians to do it so he could, whenever you write a song, you can play it on guitar and it's, you can even finish the whole thing. But until you get in a room with other guys, until it sounds just the way you heard it in your head, it can't be done, So that was the whole thing. So everything had to go. It was a natural progression. And then there was other influences, like John was a big metal guy. So he brought AC/DC and Judas Priest and, stuff like that, which, the only metal I liked was Black Sabbath and Metallica,
Okay.
And I took me years to even listen to AC/DC and, but Ruben was big into that and Led Zeppelin and stuff. So he had a little hand in there and what kind of beats he might want or what kind of sound he wanted the drums with, because he was a big drum type guy because of all the rap stuff. He was big on drums. And, so there was different influences and the band just sort of evolved and got more into the blues, which basically all those bands were all into the blues too, That's how they all started. So it just became bigger and heavier. And then we would have this new song and it was maybe a fast song, get it all worked out and then go, okay, now let's play the Sabbath version. So then we take the same song and just play it like Black Sabbath, like really slow, and then just decide, okay, should we do this song like this or like that? Or should we do the first half fast and then the middle section slow and then go back fast? And then, it was just, we always said, okay, let's do the Sabbath version now,
Is there a song on the first record that is a good example of what you're talking about?
The only thing that's on the first record is some of the outros, so say the last, freak out parts where we go double time, that kind of stuff.
Like at the end of Not of This World, or?
Yeah, stuff like that. And that became sort of like what we call the Danzig thing, where we just say, okay, where do we go now? We just say, just Danzig it up, we'll just okay. Do what we do, and double time it at the end so everybody freaks out, and just stuff like that. And Sabbath had all these big arrangements, and so did Metallica, like 7 different parts, and so we that kind of might have seeped in a little bit, but we didn't go for that. We were all about the groove, like some real natural toe tapping kind of, like stripper type thing, like hump, what we call the bump and grind kind of shit, like She Rides, and all the songs have that real good fuck rhythm. That's what we used to call it.
Nothing sexier than a stripper dancing to Mother, right?
Well, yeah, or Twisted Cane or She Rides or whatever. Many times we had been in strip clubs, and
I'm sure.
All of a sudden something comes on and they start dancing to it. Glenn just loved that. He thought that was the greatest.
Let me ask you a Rick Rubin question, because he gets a lot of crap for being a kind of an absentee producer. You got to work with him fairly early on, as far as his fame as a producer. Now, and he worked with you for a few records. Now, was he very hands-on, or was he there a lot for the first record? Did it get slide down? Just tell me about it.
Well, see, since we were in Jersey and he was in New York, he could only come to rehearsal, or we'd have to go to him every once in a while, maybe for a meeting or something.
Can I ask you a quick question? That's kind of a Rick Rubin joke.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that because his mom couldn't drive to New Jersey?
No, I don't really know. I never met his parents.
Early on, when he started with the rap stuff, like I think it was Run DMC, where like his mom drove him everywhere. He was very young when he started getting into this stuff.
Yeah, well, the first time I ever heard any of the stuff he did was with the Beastie Boys, and this friend of mine was into it. He was a young kid, still in high school, and he would play me these songs, and they all had these like AC/DC, like this. The early stuff had like bam, 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 and then they'd rap, and then they'd come back, and I was just like, they're just ripping off AC/DC. But I think Rubin was actually playing the guitar on that stuff because he was in a band before that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You know? Yeah, I only found that out a few years ago, and so I hadn't heard anything about that. And he was working for Run DMC, and he was actually doing a lot of stuff. And then he did the Slayer record, the big one, big one, Rain and Blood or whatever it was, something like that.
Yeah, it was Rain and Blood, and then South of Heaven, and then he did the first Danzig record. Those are the first three that I got familiar with him on.
Right, so he was still working on rap stuff, and I believe, and so he wanted to get more into the guitar-oriented kind of stuff and things that he probably grew up with, like Zeppelin and things, and he wanted us to be like one of those classic bands.
So was he hands-on with you guys?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, but all the songs had been written pretty much from Sam Hain, and we had rehearsed like crazy, so we had all the material down, so he didn't really have a lot of input on what, the arrangements. His big thing was, drum beats and drum sounds.
Okay.
And he wanted Chuck to play like Phil Rudd from AC/DC, like every song was boom, ta, boom, ta, boom, ta, which is boring, so he wanted that. And like I remember in between takes, like Chuck would have to run into the control room and Rick would, I was watching him. Chuck would be staring up into the ceiling while Rick was going, I want to hear boom, ta, ta, boom, boom, and then you do this.
Oh, so he would lay down and communicate. That's true?
Well, yeah, he did that, but see, then you could see Chuck, while we're doing the take, thinking of all these things that Rick wanted to put in, and you can't be like that. You just have to play it. So that didn't last very long, and we, Chuck would just be sitting there, and we'd be working out the song, and he'd just go, "Got a beat you on," we just like, give us a John Bonham beat, and he would just do it, and it would be perfect. Give us a Phil Rudd beat here. Let's do it. The only big thing that Rick had a hand in was making us overdub parts like to death, and that was not punk rock. I'm a big feel guy. You get the feel of the song, the groove of the song, and you make a mistake, that's too bad. If you can fix it, great, but otherwise you can't fuck with the groove, and
right.
Songs don't have to be perfect. So he tried to make me overdub Am I Demon like 10 times, and it's a very hard song to play because it's very fast. There's a lot going on. So after a while, I just said, that's it. That's enough. You got enough. The only thing that he did was he took Mother, and it was originally a fast song, but I can't remember it to save my life. It was more like a crazy punk rock song, and it was really fast. He took it and turned it into AC/DC. That's why you get down, 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 down. It's all AC/DC. The whole song is AC/DC.
Wow.
And the only remnants of the original version is the end part where we just fucking go crazy. So that.
Oh, another version of you Danzigging it up, right?
Well, yeah, it later became that, but still, that was, I didn't agree with that. I mean, the original version of Twisted Cane, I really liked it. It had this really cool groove, and I liked the way the chorus was, and it, had it was just great. And then he kind of AC/DC'd that up a little bit too, and, made the riff a little bit more prominent and stuff like that. So the song wound up being better. But after that, we moved out to California, and then he was pretty hands-on on the Lucifuge record. Was there pretty much at every session. And he was big with taking Glenn out to dinner and talking about the band and, you know, what his vision was and what he thought the band. And as long as they agreed on stuff, that was fine. But if Glenn didn't agree with what he was saying, he would say, no, I don't want to do that, or that's not what I see, or whatever. But like I said, the reason we had like the first record, it just has the skull and has no name of the band on it, and there's a gatefold and has that big picture of us in the middle. He wanted to make us be like a 70s kind of, you know, band that would be legendary, would last forever, you know, like Zeppelin and the Doors,
okay,
and Black Sabbath. So that's why, like, you know, Zeppelin had records that didn't have Led Zeppelin on the cover, it just had a cover, you know. So eventually they put a sticker on there, you know, that said Danzig and stuff. And the first, the Lucifuge cover is just a straight out rip off of the Doors' first album cover. It's almost exact to the Doors' debut record. You know, so he was definitely pushing that kind of thing, and we were all getting into that. I was broadening my musical, you know, listening, and was getting into the whole 70s thing. And I was, you know, already had the big mutton chops, you know, because I'm an Elvis fan. So everybody, you know, I just stopped shaving, just started growing my hair really long and stuff, and so did John, you know. And it was just like, you know, that was the whole vibe. You know, we thought we were, you know, the best band in the world, and we were just going to become huge, and that was it.
Now, during this period, like the first record and Lucifuge, did you guys wear shirts at any point?
Did we what?
Did you wear shirts? Every picture I see, you guys are just walking around shirtless, just cut like monsters.
Well, yeah, John and I went to the gym a lot. That was when we would rehearse 3 days a week for about 3 hours a day, and John and I would go to the gym like 5 or 6 days a week and work out for about 2 hours a day. So we'd go to the gym at 9 o'clock, work out for 2 hours, rest, go to rehearsal at 3 and till 5, and then we did that. And yeah, well, you know, Doyle had always, you know, been shirtless and looked like a monster, and so Glenn was kind of into that whole thing.
Okay.
And John was fine with it, and I did it for a while, but Chuck was never into that kind of stuff. We tried to take Chuck to the gym. It just didn't sit well with him. But yeah, that was just at the very beginning when we weren't really sure what direction we were going to look like and stuff like that. And eventually it was just, you know, Glenn would just go on without a shirt or take his shirt off or whatever. But I became less and less comfortable with that. And then, you know, I hurt my back, so I had to wear back braces, so I couldn't take my shirt off.
Okay.
So, you know, but that was in the beginning, and we weren't really sure. Some of the early photos are pretty funny.
Everything is all good, but with Lucifuge, the songwriting kind of stepped up a bit.
Oh yeah, it was. I thought that was lyrically the best record, the best thing Glenn had ever done. The songs were very poetic. You know, I just really, really liked them, and the band was, you know, so tight. We rehearsed a lot when we lived in LA too. It was regular schedule, just like a job, and it was great. By the time we got into the studio, we didn't have to do anything. You know, we might change, you know, rearrange a little bit or change a part here or there, but other than that, it was just, here's a suggestion, you know, from Ruben or whatever. But we would rehearse without him. He'd come down once in a while. But Glenn would say something like, okay, we got the song, it's done, but Rick's going to want us to try this or try that. He says, I already know. So let's try this the way he maybe suggested something. Glenn said, okay, we'll think about it. So then we would try arrangement or something that we thought Ruben would like, and then we'd go, what do you think? And we'd be like, nah, it doesn't work. So when he would come down, he would say, what about this? And Glenn would go, no, we already tried it. It doesn't work. So that would be the end of that. Huh. And in the studio, we tried to use a click track for the first time, which we had never done. And Chuck, you know, being Chuck and the punk rock drummer, never had to worry about that. And his timing was good. He never sped up unless it was necessary. You know, like in your normal groove, you know, you speed up, slow down, speed up, you know, when it comes to like live shows.
Yeah.
So we tried doing a click track. We tried doing it, and it was just kind of flat. I mean, it's better for overdubs and for things like that, that everything's in perfect timing, which is boring, you know. So we abandoned that pretty quick. Tried a couple of takes and just said it don't work. So we just threw that out the window. But yeah, he was there a lot during that. But then he started working with other bands. Like he might have started working with the Chili Peppers then, I'm not sure. And so he wasn't around all the time. Yeah, he wasn't around all the time. He was always busy. And then, later on, Reap would be in the studio for a couple hours and Rick wasn't there, and then he'd call and say, "Where are you at?" And say, "Well, we just did this, we just did that." He goes, "Okay, do this and call me in an hour." So we'd go back and work on stuff, and usually worked with the engineers. We had some great engineers, and just work on the stuff and have it down. Most of the shit was like 1 or 2 takes. And then he'd come down, and the first thing he would do was order lunch, So then we got to wait till he eats lunch and stuff, and we take a break and then go back. But a lot of times, I remember a few things, like we'd be working on something, like first record, second record, I can't remember, it could have been the third one, but he would like hold the phone and he'd call somebody and say, "This is incredible, you got to hear it." And then he'd do a playback and he'd hold the phone next to the speakers to play it for somebody over the phone. He goes, "Isn't that fucking awesome?" Or whatever, And, so that was pretty cool. But like, he got busier and busier. He was in the studio a lot less and had a lot less to do with, the arrangements and coming to rehearsals. And we already knew what direction we were going and how we were, the image of the band and all that stuff. So he became less and less important. And actually, we did the third record like without him. We totally did it on our own. And since Glenn was like sort of producing, and we had this great engineer, we knew the songs in our sleep. So we'd play one, and the first take, we'd be like, "That's really good. All right, well, let's try to beat it." And we play another one, and we just pick from those 2. We rarely did more than 2 or 3 takes after the first record. First record, there was like 18 takes a mother,
Okay.
And that's awful. Yeah. I don't know which take we used, but I remember being a stack of boxes, and they all said "Mother" on them.
Mother! Oh. But now we're on to Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. You're saying that Rick wasn't really there that much.
No, he got executive producer credit, which means basically he paid for it. So it was still, still a nod. And plus, the record company was changing distributors. They went from Geffen to Warner Brothers, I think. And, so...
Another step forward for me, though. I think this record goes past Danzig 2.
Oh, yeah. That was, everybody always asks me what my favorite one is, and that's my favorite, Danzig 3, because that was the best example of the band at the time, the way we sounded. That was what Danzig sounded like, and then live, that was the same way. This was the best. The band was at the height right there. And like I said, we recorded the third record. We had 5 days to record it. We recorded the whole thing in 4 days, and then we're in the studio and still got a whole day to do whatever. So we get in a car. I think Ruben was there at that particular time. Glenn and I and Ruben went down to Tower Records on Sunset and went looking through the racks to find like a cover song, so Glenn bought this T-Rex box set. He had liked T-Rex when he was younger. So we wound up doing a song called Buick McCain, and just brought it down, put it on the PA, and listened to it like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, "Chuck, you got your thing?" I'm like, he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "I know what I'm doing." Okay. And John's like, "I'm not really sure what I should play on this." So we basically, did a couple of takes of that and said, "Okay, that's good enough." John still was like, "I'm not happy with my part," or whatever. So,
and
but we never
that
put
ended
that
up
out.
on the Lost Tracks that Danzig released.
Yeah. But like I said, 4 days to record the whole album, and like I said, basically 2 takes, maybe 3 takes, but mostly 1 or 2. A lot of them are first takes, 2 takes that wound up on the record, and that's good because you got the energy, you got the feel, it's fresh, and that's why the record's like that. And then we wound up mixing it at A&M Studios, and we brought in an outside mixer which I would have rather had our engineer mix it because he was there the whole time. And, I'm not exactly sure which engineer it was. Might have been Jim Scott. He's a Grammy Award winner, Jim Scott. That I would have rather had him mix while the rest of us stood around and gave her our 2 cents. You know what I mean? So they bring in this outside guy. Don't even remember who he was. But we're running down the left-hand black, right? And there's 2 sections where the guitar drops out, and it's just bass and drums, right? So, of course, when the bass is sitting in the mix, normally, it's a little lower. So all of a sudden, there's no guitar, so you got to bring the bass up, right? So I'm standing there, and all you hear is drums and a little bit of bass in the background or whatever. And I said, no, you got to bring the bass up so we can hear what's going on. So the guy brings it up, and I go, yeah, that's fine. And then just bring it back down when the guitar comes back in. So he does that, and I leave or whatever, leave the room. Next time the pass comes around, he doesn't do it again. He doesn't bring the bass up so you hear on the records. You can hear the bass in the first part, you can't hear it in the second part. I was just like, why wasn't I still in the room?
Yeah.
That's just basic shit. I mean, that was really annoying. But
I have to take you back though.
Really good.
The entire record was recorded in 4 days.
Yeah. And that's 14 songs.
That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, early weekend, right?
No, we still went in on Friday.
I know what you're saying, but I'm like, it's literally 4 days. I mean, they could be long days, but it's an amazing sounding record.
Well, like I said, we knew the songs. We were so well rehearsed. You rehearse 3 times a week or more for 3 hours a day. You get the songs down. And they were perfect. And they had a good groove, and everything was just, we were just loving it, So,
I'm going to give a little bit of the credit to your punk rock history, though. The idea that
exactly. I was going to say that, punk rock records, like the Misfits recorded a whole album in one day. That's
and it was 58 songs.
Yeah, no, they were all, at 300 miles an hour. No, this is like the MSP stuff, and they probably did more than one session for Walk Among Us. But
no, I know what you meant. I was making a joke, but that,
mostly the reason for that is because you don't have the money to spend. So recording was like $50 an hour or whatever.
Here you do, and damn, you're done in 4 days. I mean, you beat Black Sabbath's first record. You beat Van Halen 1.
There was also the incentive, which it wasn't really an incentive, but it was still there, that you would get an advance from the record company. They would say, okay, now that you sold some records, we're going to give you $450,000 to record this next album. Okay, so if you bring it in under budget, you get the rest of the money. So that was always good.
It's amazing that doesn't incentivize more musicians.
Oh, it probably does. I'm just,
Well, back then anyway. I don't think that really exists now.
Oh, I don't know. But no, it's just we went in, say do 2-3 songs a day, work 10, 12 hours. When we got tired, we said, okay, we'll come back tomorrow. So, and then we generally go in and say, okay, what did we do yesterday? Listen to, it's like a board mix and say, okay, that's good, let's move on, and that was it. And do that, and then John would come in, say, the next week and do all his guitar leads and do some rhythm overdubs, and that would take maybe a week. And then Glenn would come in and do his vocals in a couple of days, and that was it, And so I mean, all the basic tracks were done in 4 days, but then the overdubs took another week, and then the vocals took another week. So you're looking at like 3 weeks.
I understand.
Everything in the can,
Before Danzig 4, the EP comes out, and I heard, I don't know if this is mythology. You tell me. Did Chuck need money for something, so that you guys decided to do like an EP, and you had to convince the record label to do it, or some kind of variation on that?
Not that I'm aware of. Chuck always did need money because he spent all his money on like art supplies and stuff.
Okay.
You know, so, and that stuff's not cheap. And he was not really great with money. But no, I don't think that was the case. I think we had a couple of songs, and maybe there was talk about doing a live record. Maybe Glenn didn't want to do a whole live record, and he had these other songs. It was sort of like Sam Hain songs.
Yeah.
We wanted to do the Elvis cover that we had recorded on every album but never put out.
Trouble.
Trouble. It was just one of those things that we said, okay, we're going to go record these two songs that seem like leftover Sam Hain songs.
And for those who aren't aware, this is where Mother became the huge hit.
Yeah, they decided to put out like a remixed version of Mother on there. I don't know. I haven't looked at the record lately, but and then we had the live version or whatever that was on there, and it was just a thing. And then they put out like a single with the live version and then the studio version.
Yeah.
And then that got a bunch more airplay only like 5 years after it had come out originally, you know, like sort of like Dream On from Aerosmith, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we did the live video. See, that's what sold all the records.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because
the audio on the video was not matching the audio on the CD.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I do.
But we had all the videos we put out. Glenn was always like, I want to do whatever I want. Screw MTV. They're not going to play us anyway. And I'm like, yeah, we're not playing us because of the stuff you're making us do. They're not going to play that. And so he's just like, fuck them, you know. But I think they hired the people that do like NFL films or something. You know, when you see those clip shows, on Saturdays. I'm not sure, but I think that's what happened. And they came in and just pretty much did the thing like it was a sporting event, and just we played this what's it called? Oh, I don't know, Irving whatever, in California, and it was like the biggest show we'd ever done on our own. It's like 13,000 people, and White Zombie opened up, and I forget who else. Might have been Typo Negative, but I'm not sure. But yeah, that was the biggest show we'd ever done on our own, and it was on Halloween, and we recorded the whole thing. It was amazing, and they used like all the footage from that and maybe from one or two other shows.
Okay.
And then MTV said, "Oh, we can deal with this," because I think their upper echelon had changed, you know, and they're like, "This is great. Let's play this." So they played it like 5 times a day on MTV, and then everybody started saying, "What the hell is this? Look at these guys!" And then everybody started buying the records, like all these other people that didn't even know who we were or anything about the past bands or whatever. And that's where we sold all the records, you know. And that's if we had been being played on MTV from day one, I'd be talking to you from, Bel Air in a nice big house, you know.
Odds are you wouldn't be talking to me at all.
No, I still would.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Eerie. I appreciate that.
Well, not just you, everybody, you know.
Yeah, no, okay. No, I understood. But that brings us to Danzig 4, which to me was kind of the end of the classic era of Danzig. I'm still a fan of everything that happened after this, but to me, this is kind of where, it wasn't the peak. I love the record, but it probably, I don't know. I don't know where I'd rank it. I don't really care about that kind of crap. I think it's an awesome record, but this was the last incarnation that featured you, Chuck, John, and Glenn.
Right.
So tell me about the recording of the record and what the hell happened.
Well, it's more of the same, pretty much. The songs, there was a couple of more, what I would consider Danzig-type songs, but there was also some weirder stuff or some stuff that I considered more like Sam Hain material. When people ask me, they say, well, how would you describe the record? I said, well, it's like a Sam Hain record as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Sam Hain, if they had evolved and got a little bit more rocky.
Let me stop you a little bit there. I had never even thought about that, but I think you're right. I'm looking at the song titles right now. I mean, songs like I Don't Mind the Pain, Going Down to Die, Dominion, Can't Speak. These are more that kind of almost getting back to a gothy vibe.
Yeah. And I totally understood it. This is what direction that Glenn thought he wanted to go. And it was just a natural progression. These are the songs I'm writing now. And I totally got it. And, of course, Chuck was just the same way, like, what kind of beat do you want?
He's a drummer.
But, but John didn't really understand the record and wasn't really happy with his contribution, I don't think. He thought that the songs weren't finished, that we could have used more, polishing on the stuff or whatever. But I love the vibe of the songs, and it's one of the CDs it's in the car when I run out of stuff to listen to. I throw it on every once in a while, and there's some great stuff on there, and there's some great, like, moods and, like, the way the band moves the song around, and none of that was in the mix. That was all the way it was recorded. Like if we were playing a live show, which we all played live in the studio. We recorded as a band live in the studio, every record, So that was all about the way the band played the songs. So mixing it, all you had to do was EQ and get good sounds, but the rest of it was all the band. And so I really like that record. There's only like one song maybe I don't like or whatever, but
which one?
For the most part, I don't like Can't Speak, But that was my idea, so I can't really say too much about it. They just didn't like the, I like the way it came out. It was okay, but it's not exactly. I don't think we ever played it live. We might have, but I'm not sure.
Really? That was the first video, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It was a video.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I was barely in it. I think my back was killing me, so I could barely do anything. So I just kind of stood there.
I Don't Mind the Pain is my favorite track in the record.
Yeah, that one, that bass part really gave me a problem because the way it was timed, and I was trying to play it, and I'm like not getting it, and Glenn's just like, no, it's because he wrote the song, so he knows how the rhythm goes. So I go, well, you play it then. So I hand him the bass, and he goes, like this. You gotta come in at a certain time. It's just like, it always reminds me of this Stone song where Charlie Watts didn't know where to come in, and the saxophone player Bobby Keys comes in and says, no, it's this. You come in on this beat, and Charlie's just like, I don't hear that. It's like, no, it's this. So it was exactly the same thing where Glenn goes, no, it's like pause, go, doom, now you're in. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. So that's always a song that I like, and I love the middle. By the time we got to like Danzig 4, it was basically we were rehearsed, and we'd be sitting there, and Glenn would be trying to find these ideas or these riffs on his little pocket tape recorder that he carried around, and he would be sitting there, and no, that's not it. And it'd take him like half an hour to find where the idea was that he had in the car or whatever. So me and Chuck would go out and have a cigarette or go play pool or something, and him and John would sit there, and then same thing would happen. He would say, this is the idea I got, this is a riff I hear in my head, whatever, and John would say, okay. He would just basically polish it up and say, okay, this is it. And then we'd come back in, I'd say, what key is it in? And Chuck would say, what beat do you want? And then we just hash it out. It was, and by that time, everybody knew their role, what to play and what not to play, because, with great drummer and a great guitar player and a great singer and stuff, my part as a bass player was just to accent all that stuff and not try to be like, a great bass player, just play what's necessary for the band and for the song. And so it was so simple, so easy to do at that point that it was, it's just nothing. And the sessions were the same. We recorded all the stuff in, like a week. And that was basically it, And I thought that it was a good record. And there was a lot of the songs live were good. And some we didn't play, there's, I've got videotape outside. Somebody's using my camera and they're talking to Glenn, or they're just filming people, and you can hear us doing what's that song? I don't know, I can't remember, but it's the one that's got the real jazzy drumming, like on the the end of the snare, on the rim. It's like it's like really cool jazzy kind of thing. It's like doo 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 doo. And I'm really, and then it goes, it's just, I'm just like, this is a great song, and it just would make you crazy, but it was totally different for what we were doing. So that's where, little bits like that, there's little Sammy bits in there, and on the Thrall EP, like Glenn played some guitar, and he was doing his like 2-finger chords and weird noises and stuff like he used to do on Sam Hain, just overdubs, and John was thrilled with that, but it gave it that feel. That's why Sam Hain sounds the way they do, because Glenn played a lot of guitar on that stuff. Yeah. Every time he'd go to the studio, he'd play a different part, and there's like 10 guitar parts in the song, It's like it's like, how do you get that sound? It's like, well, half the time they weren't all in tune with each other or something, different guitar, different amps or something, and, just another part, give me another track, and, I got to put these two string things in here,
Well, how did it all fall apart?
I don't know. We were supposed to be the next Metallica. That's what everybody was saying,
Really?
And we were going to be that big,
in that sense, because the one thing that I love about Danzig, it sounds like Danzig. It was a new sound. It was something fresh, and it just kept progressing. But anyway, carry on.
Well, it wasn't that we were going to change. We were just going to keep progressing. But
Yeah, but why aren't you still doing it? You guys were great. I mean, Glenn still is going out there as Danzig.
They expected us to start selling those kind of records and playing.
Oh, I gotcha.
Playing, arenas and all this stuff, and that was just, what everybody expected. But when we didn't get the, MTV.
Yeah, when you didn't turn into Green Day, they bailed on you?
No. It was just, there was also like things that were, promised that, at this level, everything's going to be even, and then you're going to get this much, and everybody's going to get a cut of this or whatever. And that didn't happen. So, Chuck was like, all right, well, I don't want to do this anymore. So he kind of left the band, and that was it. So, he had never been in a band more than like a couple of years. DOA, he was in the band for the longest time, but he went from like to Black Flag, and he was in the band for a year, maybe two. Circle Jerk, same thing. He was more like, have gun will travel.
Yeah, and none of those bands made the kind of money that Danzig was making at this point.
Yeah, well, Chuck told me he gets better royalties from DOA than he does from Danzig. So,
Okay.
But yeah, that was the whole thing. I think he got bored. He wasn't happy about, whatever he wasn't happy about. And just decided he wanted to move on or not do anything, And then he went on to play with Social Distortion for like a year,
Well, what about John? What about you?
It just happened.
What about John? What about you?
Well, once Chuck left the band, there was a lot of the soul was gone, wasn't the same. You get pretty close when you're on the road with somebody, for years, and you're together every day, and in rehearsals and everything else, and you become very close. And then, when you take some element out of that, like any, really good band, you just take something out. It's like a recipe. You forget to put the salt in, don't taste the same, So it was just one of those things for me. I don't know how it was for John. But
who left first, you or John?
Well, it was kind of a mutual thing. John wanted to quit the band after the first record,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't happy from like day one, But I told him, I said, listen, you stick it out. You'll make a name for yourself. You're a great guitar player. You get John Christ out there, and then maybe you could do your own thing, or you could join like Ozzy's band, or do something like become the next Randy Rhoads or whatever. And I always said, just do your thing, and it'll happen, And I think he just was discouraged, and maybe he didn't have the kind of input that he really wanted. And like I said, Chuck was just, okay, it's been like 8 years or whatever, time to move on. And that's just what happens with bands, people come and go, or the band just runs its course, and just, that's it,
Do you stay in touch with either of them at all, or even Glenn?
No, I haven't talked to Glenn in a long time. I talked to John maybe a year or two ago, but before that I hadn't talked to him in like 10 years. And I talked to Chuck a few times some years ago, but then he just dropped out of sight. And I haven't talked to him in, I don't know, maybe 10 years at least, maybe more, Just one of those things.
I saw a Sam Hain reunion when Glenn was touring with Danzig. I think it was 2000, 2002, somewhere in that area. And they had London. Was there any effort to reach out to you to join that?
I think they did the first one when I was still in Jersey. I moved back to Jersey, so that was like, it might have been earlier than that, like '99, or I don't know. I know they've done like 10 of them. I think Steve might have called me and asked me. I said, yeah, if you get Damien, do it. But he was playing with Iggy Pop and was not interested or didn't want to do it. I said, no, I'm not doing it without him.
Okay.
So that was the end of it. And then later on, like years later, I heard, whenever they've done interviews, it said, we didn't want Eerie because he doesn't get along with Steve in London, and we all want to have fun and have a good time and all this. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Or they would say, oh, Eerie's back, it's too bad he can't tour anymore or whatever, which is partially true. But yeah, I would have done it if they would have got the original band together. Otherwise, why bother?
Yeah, fair enough. How did you get involved on the Misfits box set? Because that was what got me into the Misfits, frankly.
Yeah, well, I was still in Jersey, and I was putting out my own record, the first record I did after the band broke up. And I was thinking, well, who can I get to put this out? So I called Caroline Records, who had put out the Misfits later stuff and the Sam Hain stuff. So I call and I talk to the A&R guy, Tom, who did the box set. And he said, well, come on down and, play us the stuff or whatever. So we had a meeting, and actually Lyle Preslar was working with them at the time in some capacity. So the two of them were in the meeting, and we just, Tom said, I love this record. This is great. I want to put this out. I said, great. How much money can you give me? So they gave me an advance, and I paid for the thing, and me and the guy who I did it with, we split the money, and they put it out, and that was it. So we kept in touch, and he, told me he wanted me to write the liner notes of doing the Misfit box set. They bought all the, stuff from Caroline or whatever.
Sure.
Or Caroline had acquired all the stuff. So they had all the masters, and, they were going to dig through everything and pull out stuff nobody's heard, or, mixes nobody's heard, or whatever. So he said, I want you to write the liner notes and provide some photos or something. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, how much are you going to pay me? He's just like, we'll give you this much money. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I'll take it. So did that, and then I gave him, like, the artwork for all the records, like I made color copies of all the records, and gave him some old flyers, and then found out that they didn't have the tapes for She and Cough Cool, the first ever Misfits record, right? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. How are you putting out a box set and you don't have the first record they ever recorded?
No shit.
Like, well, we don't have it. He's like, we can't find it. It wasn't with the tapes, and this, that, and the other thing. So I said, listen, I got a pristine copy of the record, like, beautiful, never played, like right off the pressing plant. I said, I'll get somebody to make a tape of it. So our sound man's brother had all this recording stuff, and he had a DAT recorder, and he recorded the side A and side B of that on a DAT tape. I gave it to Tom, and they wound up putting it on the thing, so that wouldn't be there either. And that came out. It was in a coffin. I was like, this is great, so, and then we just, stayed in touch, and he's the one who worked on a book with me, and, did all that shit. So that's how that happened.
You did a great job with it. I've read it probably at least 5 times. I also am holding your solo record on CD, The Blood in the Body. This seems like kind of a throwback record to me, like almost a DIY. This is just raw, just almost grungy, gothy kind of music.
Well, I didn't have hardly anything to record. I did it on a 4-track cassette player, cassette tape.
With a drum
closet.
machine, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, that's because I went to Toys R Us and bought a Casio keyboard that had some drum stuff on there, and I didn't use a whole lot of. Only a couple of songs have that on there, And all I had was a acoustic guitar, a microphone, and a distortion box. That's all I had. Plus that Casio keyboard that I played some of the things. So I wound up using sound effects, and I recorded for timing. I recorded, like a clock ticking and things like that. And I, tapped on the top of the microphone to make drum sounds, and so it was all, very minimal. But that's what I could do, and I wanted to put out a record. So I like some of the songs I like, and I like some of the a lot of the lyrics and stuff, and some of the songs I hate.
I think the lyrics are very good on this. But I love the DIY aspect, because it was was it 2000 or just late 90s, 98, 99, something like that?
It was like 98, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea that someone's still doing something like that, to me, was very appealing when I listened to it, because, yeah, I mean, it's not a cleanly produced record.
I was just doing whatever I could using, some of the old blues guys used to use, boxes for kick drum sounds and things like that. Whatever you could use, and that's all I had, So I just did what I wanted to do, and mostly it was feel. That's why some of the songs are very sparse, and it's just about, the mood and stuff. So
yeah, very, very low tech.
Then I pressed like 1,000 copies, and I sold, a bunch of them, and then either I called Cleopatra or somebody got in touch with me, and I made a deal for them to continue to press the record and buy out what I had, and give me an advance or whatever, so I could continue to live. And then they took it over, and they pressed it some more, and because the original pressing doesn't have any record company on it, and that's how you can tell. That was it. And then I moved down to Florida with the money that I got. I think I got some T-shirt money from Danzig. That was back T-shirt money, and I got it when we were recording the 4th record, but I still had it in the bank. So went down to Florida, bought a big old house, and then recorded Bad Dream and did the same thing. But by then I had figured out, because I had my drums, I had real guitars and basses and stuff, so I could play everything, and I played live drums. And I was making these tape loops and things, but I was doing them on cassette, not like computer, because there's no computer. So I was doing them like, Pink Floyd or the Beatles or somebody was doing. Like, I was recording like 6 tracks and then bouncing them all in one track, and then recording something else and then bouncing the 2 of those, and having all these things, and that became like a background, and then I'd start playing the drums to it or whatever. And just a lot of sound effects things that I found, and, just whatever. And it was basically the same as Blood in the Body, except I had real instruments to play, and just did that, and then I was supposed to put out another record in between, or I was working on another record, but that one crashed. My whole hard drive crashed. By then I was using a digital recorder, and that all crashed, so I wound up working or taking all these punk rock songs that I had written over the years and recording all of them, and then I did this one called Spider Cider, and that was just all stuff I had in the can or on the shelf.
I have a couple more Danzig questions, and that's going to be it for that. If I heard you right, you have not talked to Glenn at all since you left the band. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What would it take to get a reunion going? Is it just pretty much him going and say, yeah, it's okay?
Well, there would be certain stipulations, certain things would have to happen. We'd have to have Chuck and John.
That's what I'm talking about. Not just you. I'm talking about that whole lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, well, doesn't seem like anybody really cares. It's like, well, you got one guy that was in the band, or whatever.
Not for me. I want all 4 of you guys back.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing, and then there's a few other things, that have to be taken care of, and just the way there has to be certain things to make it happen. But Glenn doesn't need us. He's had 27 guys in his band since we left, and he can get anybody to play that stuff. I mean, eventually he'll probably have like just studio type guys that are playing, and he'll just be do the Elvis thing or whatever, play Vegas. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think the songs have stayed consistent with him, but the recordings and production have just, I don't know, kind of declined. That's my thoughts. My personal feeling on that is that's how I feel.
Yeah, whatever.
Well, let me ask you this. The Misfits got back together. They're doing these one-off shows all over the place. They played the LA Forum. It sold out in like 3 minutes. And there's probably more people in that crowd than actual albums sold by the Misfits during Glenn's time in the band, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all, and probably 90% of the crowd weren't even alive when the band was together.
I would hope it's much less than 90%, but yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying. But yeah, I was surprised they could play places that big, after all this time. But Danzig played bigger places, sold more records. Jerry'd been on the road all this time, still playing the songs. Doyle was still playing the songs. So people, the stuff was being kept alive by all
Sure.
those guys. So, of course, people are going to want to see, the original band.
How do you feel about that is my question, because you actually, I mean, you played with Glenn and you were witness to one of the most instrumental, I mean, let me say it this way, Eerie. I do believe Glenn belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even though I don't think that building matters that much. Because of the Misfits and because of your era in Danzig, how does it feel to know that you basically were there for a lot of this? Do you feel good? Are you proud? Are you upset? Or
I'm very proud of the songs, the records, and all the people we made happy, and the live shows were always great. I think it's a great thing, and never thought, from back then, when Misfits are playing to 50 people, 200 people, or whatever, that anything would ever come of it, or anybody would even care.
right?
And then, it wasn't until Danzig that I thought that something, could be really big. But yeah, I'm very proud of all that stuff, and I think it's great. It's the legacy, and I'm glad younger kids are getting turned on to all this stuff, and they're forming bands and all. That's what it's all about anyway. So I know I'm very happy about all that stuff, and I promote and still support everybody who's ever been in any of the bands.
What do you got going on now? What anything to promote for Eerie Vonn?
I'm just working on the new book. It's going to be more of just the photos and not so much story, because
Sure.
I already told the story. So it's going to be like more of a photo book, pictures, a lot of stuff that no one's ever seen, a lot of stuff I haven't seen in a long time, and they're all getting cleaned up, and I have to sit there and tell my manager who's working on the record, what to crop here and how I want this to look, and what use this photo, don't use that photo, whatever. And so that's my main thing. Now I have plenty of material to do a new record, and I've got everything demoed. I just don't have the money or really, the people to play with. Down here, everybody's got a job, and they're in 3 bands, and they all have their own thing they want to do. And I have yet to find anybody that I can really say, okay, this is the record I want to make. You want to help me make it, So I'll put out another record when I do, But I'm mostly focused on my painting that I've been doing since
nice.
full-time since '99, and sold like almost 400 paintings since then. And the book, take it from there. I do some shows every once in a while, but it's not something that I really need to do. Done everything I wanted to do with Danzig. So been everywhere, played in front of millions of people. It's not something that I wake up and go, oh, I really want to go down to the street corner and play some songs in front of people, or whatever, or get up and do this or that,
Eerie, this has been a huge pleasure for me. Talking to a member of Danzig and a guy who was there to witness, eyewitness of the birth of my favorite punk rock band, the Misfits. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, no problem.
And I love doing interviews that I don't need to do any research on. Thank you very much to Eerie Vonn. If you are a fan of Danzig or the Misfits or Sam Hain, how could you not like that interview? Man, he had so much to share and was so kind and gracious, wasn't he? I hope you had fun. I'd like to remind everybody who's listening right now that Cobras and Fire will be in Nashville on August 25th at the Rockin' Pod Expo. You should check it out. You should stop right now. Hit pause after I tell you this next thing. Hit pause as soon as I'm finished this next sentence. Go Google Rockin' Pod Expo Nashville. You back? Okay. Now, you're going to want to come. You're going to want to meet me. You're going to want to meet all these other podcasters. But more importantly, you're going to want to meet people like Ron Keel. You're going to want to meet people like Head from Korn and Paul Taylor from Winger. I mean, just there are so many people coming to this thing, and it's the second year in a row, and it was so much fun last year. Trust me, if you like the show and you can make it, you should come. If you can't, there is a way you can contribute and just help out with $1, $2, $5, $10. There is no big corporate entity like Warner Brothers putting this on. This is a self-funded event by fans and podcasters. So definitely, if you can help out, check it out. And if you can come, even better. Also, don't forget that Cobras and Fire recently joined Twitter. We just found out about this thing called Twitter. Please look us up on Twitter and check us out. Go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating or whatever you think we deserve. Do the same thing on Facebook. Give us a like. Give us a shout out. We might talk about you on the show. If you're new to the program, you can find us anywhere podcasts are served up. Please give us a follow. Let us know what you think. Especially if you're checking in for the first time because of the Eerie Vonn Danzig thing. We have all sorts of episodes that maybe you'll like, especially if you like a little bit of a sense of humor with your morning commute podcast. And for my co-host, Loose Cannon, my name is Baco, and never forget, rock is not dead. It's just a misfit.